Here's one thing. People are like, sex should be spontaneous. We should just be able to like go upstairs, rip off each other's clothes, roll around and have a really fantastic time. Why can't it be like that? Because it used to be like that.
Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast. I'm your host, Maria Angelova, and I'm here to challenge everything you have been taught about aging and wellness. This podcast is for those who refuse to accept that growing old means growing unhealthy. Each week, I will bring you dynamic conversations with inspirational guests, sharing practical advice, insights, and motivation to live your life rebelliously as you age with grace and vitality. This is your time to embrace self-care, transformation, and an infectious spirit that says no to the conventional and yes to a vibrant, powerful life. Let's dive in and redefine what it means to live well. Hi, Rebels, and welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where today we get to talk about sex and intimacy because in the house we have Amy Rowan, who is the Suburban Sexologist. Hello and welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Maria. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I am so excited you're here, girlfriend, because what a hot topic do we have? It's going to be a hot episode dropping, right?
Yes, I think spicier than most people realize.
Let's dive right in. Amy, tell us, who is Amy? Who is the Suburban Sexologist? Give us 3 words that describe you and give us a little bit of a backstory behind each word.
Sure. Well, my name is Amy Rowan, known as the Suburban Sexologist. And gosh, 3 words that describe me. I think the first word that I would use is passionate. Which, I think kind of makes sense as a sexologist, but maybe team. Not. It does. But, I'm expanding passionate to mean many different things. And, first and foremost, I'm passionate about my family. I have been married for a little over 20 years. I am a mom. I've got 3 boys, still at home, now 1 in middle and 2 in high school. I'm very passionate about what I do and about helping all the women, men, and couples that I help with overcoming intimacy challenges, enhancing pleasure, enhancing exploration, and just learning how to build a rock-solid relationship on a foundation of pleasure and trusted communication. And I'm also passionate about playing tennis. So that's just something that I really love to do, and I am not doing all the other things that I'm doing.
I love that.
And let's see, word number 2. Gosh. Can I just stick with passionate?
Yes, you can stick with passionate. And you know what? We can dive right off that because I love what you said about helping couples. How did you say it? Helping couples build a relationship based on pleasure. Oh, how fun does that sound? Who wants a relationship like that?
Yes.
Right? And
absolutely.
Can we be real that for a lot of people, the pleasure is not there and it's mechanical and it's a check mark. It lacks the intentionality. And I do have to say, ladies, I hear it. I just do it because my husband wants to. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can we talk about those things, Amy? Like, what do you hear?
Yes.
What are some of the things you hear from the ladies?
Absolutely. I'm taking one for the team. I don't want to do this anymore. Where's my desire? Where's the spark? Why can't it be like it used to be? I think all of those challenges, and it's incredibly common. I think the other thing is we don't talk about sex. And, I think before we get married, like we talk about it with our girlfriends, but then it kind of becomes a little bit more of a private thing in a way, as it should be. But what that leaves is a lot of people feeling like there's something wrong with them. They're broken. Everyone else has a better sex life than I have. And they don't know, 1, that there's anything that they can do about it, or 2, like even where to start to get that level of support.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, I was having a recent conversation with a client because all topics are, okay here, and it's a very safe place, and we talk about topics that are taboo and are comfortable, and people open up. And he made the statement that he said men want it more frequently than women. And I said, I actually disagree with that. I said, I would love to hear what you have to say. I said, I think men don't know how to ask for it because I think especially with age, women are looking for more intimacy and connection through sex. than men. And I would love to hear what you have to say. That's just a personal opinion.
Yeah. So there's two memes that pop to mind. So the first one, it's been around for a long time, and it's men think they want a woman who wants a lot of sex until they actually have one, because the reality is they can't keep up with us when they actually find one. But the flip side and the irony and the thing that you're talking about here is that men need sex to feel loved, and women need to feel loved to want sex. And so it's this dance, this intricate little dance where and we should say most men and most women here.
Right.
There's
we're stereotyping.
There's always someone's like, Amy, I don't need that. Okay, that's totally fine. So, but you know, it's a very important part. That physical intimacy is very important for most men. But if we aren't feeling supported, loved, emotionally connected, if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel like we can trust our partner, and I'm not even talking about big things like infidelity. I'm just talking about like even the little things like
daily
I don't
life.
have to remind you to pick up the kids, you know, then that just kind of erodes all of that. And then at the end of the day, when they start pawing at us and you're like, no, like leave me alone. I don't want that. And then he feels rejected. And you know, and then you feel guilty, and now you have two people on opposite sides of the bed, both feeling rotten, and it starts to, erode the core of a relationship.
Yeah, and you know, this is kind of funny, but can we talk about the little things, such as, honey, if I didn't have to tell you to take the trash out, maybe I wouldn't be as annoyed and would be more open to a fun night, right? I mean, those little things that add up through the day, like if you take the initiative to put the kids to bed, maybe I wouldn't be as stressed out, right? Like, can we talk about those little things? Because again, this is the difference between men and women.
Yeah. Well, you know, a term that I've been hearing more and more that I'm so glad that it exists and it's part of the conversation is emotional labor, because there is so much just thought and emotional labor that goes into just, you know, running, you know, of the day in and day out life. Again, I have 3 children. I'm running, you know, my business calendar, my kids' 3 calendars, you know, like all of these things every single day. My brain is constantly like making checklist after checklist after checklist and making sure that everything gets done. And when you are so busy in that, it's now being also talked sort of a masculine energy, then you don't have the ability to shut down your brain. And as long as your brain is going, you can't get into your body. And you need to be able to be in your body to be able to experience pleasure and connection. And so, you know, it's been said forever, like, oh, just go do the dishes for her, go do the laundry, it'll make, you know, and they're like, why do I have to do that? But it's legit. If you take any of those things or as many of those things as you can off of her plate, then that is going to slowly shut down her brain, and that will allow her body to be able to turn on.
Yeah. And you brought up another very key word that I talk about all the time, and that is the word intentionality. So when a sexual relationship becomes a check mark because, you know, we haven't done it in a long time, or you feel guilty that your husband needs to get his pleasure or whatever else that you've got going, can we talk about that? The intentionality of being present, which sounds very silly because you would hope at least that's one time. But I will tell you, I talk with clients and they're like, I'm not present in the act. They're like, I'm there physically, but like mentally, I'm thinking about the things I have to do tomorrow, my to-do list, like da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, I'm just going through the process.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly common. And that, you know, links back to what I was just talking about. You know, to the extent that we can turn off things in the brain, then that will allow her to then come in and be present in her body. And, you know, one of the first exercises I do with nearly every single one of my clients is it's a raising exercise, and it's basically teaching you how to manage distraction thoughts and come back into your body and focus in on sensations, because that is where we need to be. And with the intentionality piece of it around, it's when you can set things up. So, you know, like here's one thing. People are like, sex should be spontaneous. We should just be able to like go upstairs, rip off each other's clothes, roll around and have a really fantastic time. Why can't it be like that? Because it used to be like that, like way back in the day when we first got together. But here's the thing. Way back in the day when we first got together, and I'm going to age myself because the last time I dated my husband was 25 years ago. Even then, like he picked up the phone. He called me. We made plans. So Wednesday he calls me. We make plans for Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I'm talking to my roommate. I'm picking out an outfit. I shave, he shaves, all of that stuff. And there's so much excitement building, positive anticipation building in that time that by the time we tore each other's clothes off and, rolled in the hay for the spontaneous thing, we've been looking forward to it for 5 days. And that is what needs to be intentionally built in a long-term relationship. And what that looks like is, again, planning for sex, right? And that is everything from planning a time, right? If we're going to make sure that, Wednesday at noon, if, the kids are up late, if you have teenagers like I do. And because that's what's like really, they want to tell you everything at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
But making sure that you have a cleanup towel handy, like making sure that you have the lubricant that you need so you don't have to stop the flow. And especially when, generally speaking, the male partner can kind of take care of that, then that's one less thing that she has to think about. Because if she's laying there and she's like, why is my vagina so dry? Because I'm perimenopause and it's taking too long and blah, blah, blah. And now I've got to stop things and I've got to say, go get the lube, blah, 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 blah. Like all of these things are taking her out of the experience. Whereas if he had just gotten the bottle of lube and it was sitting there right there, then that's one less thing she has to worry about.
Hey Rebels, I want to take a quick moment to share something super exciting with you. If you've been feeling stuck, disconnected, or just know there is more to life than what you're experiencing, I have something special for you. I have created a powerful 6-step video series called Unleash Your Potential, an introduction to the Angelova method. As a valued Mind-Body podcast listener, the series is my gift to you. In this series, I will guide you through the core elements of the Angelova method, a unique approach that integrates movement, mindset, and mastery to help you align your body, mind, and life. You will learn practical techniques to improve your alignment, boost your core strength, and connect deeply to your inner self. Whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, gain mental clarity, or simply live more fully, these videos are designed to get you started on the path to your most vibrant self. And the best part? It's completely free. So if you're ready to break through barriers and unleash your full potential, head over to mindbodyexpert.com and get started today. Let's take this journey together because you, my rebel, deserve nothing less than the extraordinary. Amy, can we talk perimenopause, menopause? Can we talk about vaginal dryness?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I just turned 47 11 days ago.
48.
So
happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday. Yes. And perimenopause, it's real. It causes all kinds of different changes, from vaginal dryness, mood swings. I have actually have a podcast, Sensational Sex Podcast as well. We talk a lot about perimenopause, our most recent episodes. But I think it takes a lot of people by surprise, and I think most people think that all of this stuff is going to happen after menopause, right? And, menopause typically happens sometime like mid-50s for most people. So it really surprises that those changes start happening before that time. And I think a lot of the partners, the husbands or boyfriends can be surprised too, because all of a sudden, there's just mood swings and all these different things that are happening. And they're like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm mad all the time. So.
Well, I think, the one thing that I hear from women especially is that they start feeling guilty about not being able to get wet. Well, that then gets into their head, and now instead of focusing on enjoying so that they can get wet, now they're spinning in their head, I'm not getting wet, what is happening with me, I'm getting old, and I call that going down the rabbit hole. Do you have any tips or tricks? I mean, you mentioned the loop. Do you have any tips and tricks for quieting the brain? Because that's what I call interrupt and reroute. So when you start hearing those voices going, just chop it right there and focus on the pleasure, right? Intentionally choose to enjoy the moment and the foreplay and communicate, I would say, to your partner of what it is that you need that would support you. What does the Suburban Sexologist say?
Yeah, well, a little bit like I said before, planning a little bit of planning will help with a lot of that stuff. So what are the things you are typically worried about when you're in the bedroom? If you take a minute and you actually like observe, what are the things that you're worried about? Are you worried about a child coming in? Are you worried about the dog barking? Are you worried about your vagina getting dry? Are you worried about, what are those things? Identify what they are specifically. Now, what can you do to fix those things, right? So make sure that the door is locked. Make sure you taught your children that we always knock on locked doors. Make sure that your kid is watching a TV show. Make sure you have the bottle of lube on hand. And specifically, if the primary issue, if your main issue is just vaginal dryness, well, girl, you're in great shape because that's a fairly easy one to solve. Because a great bottle of lube is wonderful. And I have several that I recommend that I really love. Now, the one thing that I always like to share about lube, actually two things. One is that you can't use lube to skip arousal.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where a lot of people get lube wrong because they think a wet vagina is an aroused vagina. And that is not true. A wet vagina means it can simply be penetrated without causing damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But full arousal takes anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes for most women. And especially as we're heading into perimenopause and beyond, it's going to be on the latter end of that. So just because you've added some lube doesn't mean we can go ahead and slip it on in and go to town because she may not be fully aroused yet.
Right.
And I think that's what happens that's why most women, one of the big reasons why a lot of women get bored because, they get it. Okay, partner's like, yes, I know I need to get her wet. Okay, she's wet. She's ready to go. And, you go and then he's done. And we haven't even gotten started yet. And that's not fun. That's not pleasurable. There's not really anything in that for us. And that's a lot of why women ultimately start to feel resentful.
So let me ask you about the flip side. There you have a middle-aged guy who is worried about the opposite thing. He's like, I better get it, hurry, right? To make sure that I don't have any kind of issues going on as we're going on. So you have, one is like, I need more time to warm up. The other one is like, I need to speed it up so I don't lose my warm up. So what do you tell to the guys?
So with both of these people, the thing that is so important to highlight is that the way that we have been taught to have sex is broken, and it's not serving the way that is really beneficial and pleasurable because we've been taught to have goal-oriented sex. We've been taught that the point of sex is to have an orgasm. And, right? And, generally speaking, he knows, okay, I'm going to give her orgasm or, multiples if possible, and then he's going to have his orgasm, right? But if you're just focused on the orgasm, if you're just focused on getting hard, if you're just focused on the orgasm, you're missing all of the fun and pleasure along the way. And there's so much more to sex than just an orgasm. Now, you're not going to orgasms. They're great. And absolutely a very necessary piece of it. Doesn't have to be in there every single time for us. But generally speaking, if it's not there most of the time, then same thing. We're going to get disinterested. But so then coming back into the guy, if we have men who are, again, starting to experience erectile dysfunction, that is so challenging for them because they are very used to their bodies responding in a very particular way, like it has ever since and there's so much pressure if they're like, oh my gosh, I have it. I've got it. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to lose it because if I lose it, then it's over. So the challenge that I offer to those guys is learn to waste an erection. Like
learn to waste an erection. Okay.
It's there. Learn to waste an erection and recognize that it will come back. Because if you go ahead and he gets his erection and then, fun, some pleasure, things like that, and then switch and start doing some of the things to her, let the erection go back down, and then it will come back. And once you realize it's not like a one-shot deal, then you're not going to have all that mental pressure of like, oh my gosh, I got to make the most of this right now, which of course, again, that's like, pressure and sex goes to literally, yes, so that kills it every time.
Yeah. And I think it works for both, that being present to, like you said, in the moment and enjoying the moment, whatever that is, like foreplay, intimacy, whatever that means for you, whatever each partner enjoys, goes such a long way than everybody being in their head of that goal, right? We're so goal conditioned in everything, including the bed. Sadly, we've gotten there too. right? Okay,
Absolutely.
let's talk about another important topic that I get to hear because I deal with a lot of people who have body aches and discomforts, and that is uncomfortable sex. And Amy, I will tell you, I don't know what you hear, but a lot of the women I work with, they have that expectation. Oh, I'm a mom, sex will never be the same. And I'm like, no. So can we talk about that and what are some things to pay attention to when there is discomfort?
So discomfort. There are different levels of discomfort, different types of discomfort. If we're talking about something like painful intercourse, I think the biggest mistake that people make if you are experiencing painful intercourse is they keep pushing through and trying to do it for their partner, for themselves. They keep thinking, okay, I can do this. I can make this happen. I'm going to make it happen. And unfortunately, what that can lead to is a condition called vaginismus, in which the vagina will actually put up a protective barrier and prevent penetration. So the general rule of thumb, first of all, if sex has become painful, you need to go see a doctor, first and foremost. And if and OBGYNs can be, sometimes they can be helpful, sometimes they can't be helpful. I would say the next stop on that journey would be a pelvic floor therapist. But generally speaking, if the pain is anything beyond a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, you need to stop. Do not push through that pain, because your brain and your body will disconnect. Your brain is going to stop, or your body's going to stop trusting your brain, and it is going to get significantly worse. You cannot push through it. So you need to check out the medical causes of it first, and do not push through pain, because pain is our body's way of telling us that there's something going on, and we should not ignore that. We should not push through that. And also, generally speaking, that's not normal regularly when it comes to intercourse. I
say the exact same thing, Amy, that pain is our way of body communicating to us and saying, pay attention to me, stop. And what do? We find our ways and we don't listen until it gets worse, and then we can't do it. And that's when we seek, the professional help. It's like, if your body is giving you the sign, stop and address it and honor it. I think painful intercourse, from what I see for many, has been normalized. Oh, I've had kids. It's okay for me to pee on myself. It's okay for me to have painful intercourse. It's like, no. So I'm glad. And I do agree. Yeah. I refer...
intercourse should not be painful.
Yeah. I refer to pelvic floor specialists. Amy, what's one piece of advice you can give our listeners?
Oh, one piece of advice. Just one? Oh my goodness.
Sure, go for 2, 3, whatever.
One that I love to always share is, oh my gosh, stop faking orgasms. Stop faking orgasms. Girl, stop it. If you're doing that, and look, we've all done it. I've done it. I mean, I think everyone has done it at some point in time. And if you have, and if it's something you're doing on a regular basis, first of all, it's okay. All right? Like, give yourself some grace, but also stop. Okay? And I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how to change that, right? So normally we are faking orgasms because we are trying to protect our partner's ego, right? Which means that either they aren't giving us the right type of stimulation that they need, they're not giving us enough time to get where we need to go, or we're just like, ugh, I'm bored, like, I'm just done. I'm just gonna make a whole bunch of noise, and then I can go to sleep and read my book because I'm tired and I'm kind of over this. And girl, okay? So first of all, if it's the first two that I talked about, if it's the wrong type of stimulation or not enough stimulation, then you are teaching that person that what they are doing is working for you, okay? And you're giving them bad information. And you know what? That is not going to change until you give them better information. And yes, I know that is a difficult conversation to have. But you know what? I honestly blame it on me, right? Like, women need 15 to 40 minutes of stimulation and a warm up, and men are like microwaves, beep, 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 they're hot. Women are like ovens. We have to preheat, and that preheating takes time. So you gotta say, oh my gosh, I was listening to this amazing podcast and I learned this, and I realized that I haven't really been getting fully where I need to. So it's gonna take longer than it has in the past, but I'm really trusting my body and listening to my body. Now, if it's the second option where it's just like you're just doing it to get it over with, it's a different conversation. But that's more about communication, right? And if you are continuously faking to get it over with, you are also sending yourself down this terrible rabbit hole of building of resentment. And that is like a guarantee, like you're already kind of there. You're already dancing on the edge of like no more sex. And you can reverse that at any time. But it starts with saying, I don't want to have sex tonight. Okay, I'm not going to fake it. I don't want to have sex tonight. Let's find another time. Why don't I want to have sex? Let's talk about desire, arousal, and there's like a whole bunch of things in here, but figuring out the reason. So that is a big piece of advice, which is
that is a good
stop
piece
faking
of advice. Yeah. And you know what? I think there is a big communication piece to that. And I actually am not sure. I guess people were raised differently talking about sex. I come from a family of academia, so everything was very scientifically explained in my family. And I'm also European, which I think, sex is not such a taboo topic as it is in the United States. But I've had actually even friends to where I'm like, well, did you tell your husband? And they're like, what do you mean tell him? I'm like tell him what to do, guide him? And they're like, I can't do that. And I'm like, if you don't, who is going to tell him what pleasures?
Correct.
Like the coach?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The coach doesn't know what makes you happy. So like you have to speak up. And it's both men and women, right? It's not just women. It's also the men. Yeah, I love it. Communication
Absolutely.
is key.
Well, it starts with, it is. Well, and it starts with knowing, I think so many women haven't explored their bodies. They don't know what turns them on. If you think about it, like little boys, they have a little thing that's sticking out. They start grabbing it, from the minute they're born. For us to explore our vagina, our vulva, like we have to, it's not out there, right? And it has to be a conscious thing. But there's so many women that don't really know what turns them on. They depend on their partner for it. They don't know their bodies, and they don't necessarily know what they want. And if you don't know what you want and what you like, then how can you possibly communicate that to somebody else? And so you get stuck in this kind of general, like, this isn't working, but I don't really know why, and I don't really know what is, and I don't know, this is just kind of awkward, and I don't want to talk about it, so I'm just gonna let it go because it's easier.
Well, you bring up another very important topic, Amy, I think, and that's knowing and being comfortable in your body and skin, and going along with that. And I think right there is a stigma right there, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, again, it's all these messages, right? Like, growing up,
mindset.
Certainly here in America, we hear all these messages of sex is dangerous, sex is dirty, if you want it too much, then you're a slut, and if you don't want it enough, then you're a prude. But then, all of these things, and then you finally get into, a healthy relationship with somebody who really cares about you, and now you've got all this stuff in your head, it's just messing with you. And so, to your point, but mindset is also like one of the very first things I work on with my clients as well, because so many people have a negative sexual mindset, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to hate this. I don't want to do this. This isn't fun. And you know what? If that's what you're telling yourself, then all of those things are absolutely true.
Yeah.
So, but you can also flip that. And once you flip that, then you will naturally start to problem solve into, sex is enjoyable. I look forward to having sex with my husband, all of those things. And you can start to flip those scripts.
Yeah, I love it. You can have a different perspective on the situation. And like you said, what you started with, build a relationship that is based on pleasure. I like that.
Yeah.
Amy, I can't let you escape without you telling us what's your definition of rebellious.
My definition of,
of rebellious.
Fade it out. Of rebellious. Oh, my definition of rebellious. My definition of rebellious is choosing to do things in your own way. Not necessarily without concern for others, but just recognizing that you can make your own path. I think that I've always considered myself to be a little bit of a rebel. I'm a sexologist after all. That's not something most people do. So, but just being able to make your own path and do things in your own way, and recognizing that you don't always have to follow the path that has been laid out before you. There's always all different types of interesting things along the way to explore.
Very cool. Amy, where can people find you, connect with you, website, social media?
Absolutely. If you would like to explore some one-on-one intimacy coaching, I do talk-based intimacy coaching. I have online workshops, summits. My website is suburbanintimacy.com. You can go on there and get a free download of 5 tips for sexy scheduled sex, since we are talking about that. So go ahead and download that. And you can also find me on all of the socials as Suburban Intimacy or Amy Rowan Intimacy Coach.
Love it. Rebels, what kind of questions do you have? Who can you send this episode that can benefit from hear this info on healthy sex and intimacy with Amy? Amy, I thank you so much for being here with us. Super cool topics. I think very relevant topics for all of us. I appreciate your, openness and funness and being here with us, finding the time to be here with us in your busy schedule. Rebels, you know what the spirit is. Have fun, enjoy, and do not forget to stay rebellious. I will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you for joining us on the Mind Body Podcast, where we explore the power of living authentically and rebelliously. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow rebellious soul who would love to hear what we share as much as you do. Stay strong, stay calm, and most importantly, stay rebellious. Until next time, rebellious souls, keep living fully. Your journey is just beginning.